Let's go back in time to the year 1935 and talk about ALA Schechter Poultry Company versus the United States. This is a case that you'll probably read if you either take constitutional law or administrative law in law school, and it's a case that is really interesting if you're into politics, if you're into policy, and how politics and policy interact with the Constitution. So the facts of the case: Schechter Poultry was convicted for violating the Live Poultry Code. So what on earth is the Live Poultry Code? So it was adopted pursuant to delegation by Congress and promulgated under Section 3 of the National Industrial Recovery Act, which authorizes the President of the United States to approve codes of fair competition. So the President, who at the time was Franklin Roosevelt, he was in his first term, can approve the codes if they find that first, such associations or groups impose no equitable restrictions on admission to membership therein and are truly representative, and two, such codes are not designed to promote monopolies or to eliminate or oppress small enterprises and will not operate to discriminate against them and won't tend to effectuate the policy title of the act. So where the code has not been approved, the president has the discretion to prescribe one even on his own motion or on complaint. So that's quite a bit of discretion that the president gets. So the petitioners are appealing their conviction. It gets to the Supreme Court. This opinion is written by Justice Charles Evan Hughes, Herbert Hoover appointee, Republican guy. He was the nominee in 1916. And yeah, so this Supreme Court at the time was very conservative. Not everyone was conservative, but most of them were, and that really got FDR incredibly steamed. This decision, no surprise, was unanimous. Even Benjamin Cardozo was on board with it. So the court held that this was a brazenly unconstitutional delegation of power. And this is one of the only two times in which the U.S. Supreme Court has found that Congress exceeded its power to delegate legislative authority. The other time was the Panama refining case, which also happened in the 1930s. But this case seemed, in the court's view, to be even more egregious, an even more brazen violation of the U.S. Constitution. So the power that Section 3 of the Act seeks to confer, the court said, is not merely to deal with unfair competition practices. The range of the discretion that the president gets isn't just confined to the limited requirement of his own findings. In approving a code, the president gets to impose his own conditions, adding to or taking away from what is proposed, as in his discretion he views as necessary to pursue the policy of the act. So yeah, loads of discretion. He gets discretion over all varieties of laws which he may deem beneficial in dealing with the vast array of commercial and industrial activities throughout the country. And they do clarify something here. They say something that could have made this better. It might have been okay if fair competition were defined to the common law understanding of it, but that's not what Congress did here. Congress did not define unfair or fair competition by the term understood under common law. They just said fair competition generally, which bakes in a pretty absurd amount of discretion for the president, and in this case makes it unconstitutional. So yeah, this case, as I said, one of two cases where Congress loses on the non-delegation doctrine. Even as of 2024, the court has not really broken new ground on the non-delegation doctrine, not struck something down. The Constitution doesn't impose that many limits on Congress's ability to delegate authority. So yeah, and they also held in this case that this was not a valid exercise of Congress's power under the Commerce Clause to regulate interstate commerce. Not really surprising. This was the 1930s. This was before FDR got to start appointing his Supreme Court justices, who took a much more expansive view of the Commerce Clause. So yeah, they're taking a narrow view of commerce power. And obviously, they're saying the delegation here does not work. It's brazenly unconstitutional. So yeah, really interesting case, unanimous. It's not necessarily bad law, really. I mean, the Supreme Court hasn't repudiated it or said that it took too narrow a view of Congress's power to delegate. But considering the Supreme Court is pretty staunchly conservative, 6-3, it might be revisited, the issue of non-delegation. They might make it so that it's harder for Congress to delegate power to agencies or to the president. So yeah, I really hope that if you're a law student or if you're someone interested in politics or policy, you found this video to be interesting or helpful. And if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe on the video. It helps us tremendously. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you in the next video.